Hey, what's up everybody? Ed the Pond Professor here. Today I'm going to talk to you about the most important part of an ecosystem pond, and that is a skimmer filter. The skimmer is responsible for a lot of cool stuff, so stay tuned for this one because I want to give you all the little details behind the science. Why we created the skimmer in the first place, how it functions, where it started, where it's at today. So the first thing we need to do is understand the dynamics of what makes an ecosystem pond. So when we look at limnology, the study of freshwater ecosystems, there are a couple main differentiating pieces for trophic levels. So trophic levels are basically the amount of food that's available within the ecosystem. As a pond designer, our customers are looking for clear water, beautiful rocky bottoms and things like that. So they're trying to recreate a natural ecosystem. So that type of an ecosystem is known as an oligotrophic ecosystem. Oligos means few or little. Trophic is food. So it literally means there's a little bit of food in the water. Food is in the form of nutrients that actually start the entire food chain. Plankton blooms, algae, aquatic vegetation, all the way up through the entire ecosystem. So now as you move up, the next level is called a mesotrophic system. So meso means medium, so that means there's a medium amount of food inside of it. It means you're going to still have really clear water, but you're going to have an abundance of aquatic vegetation. It's actually very, very healthy looking, supports a huge fishery. The next one is actually called the eutrophic system. EU means a lot. So that means there's a lot of food in the system. It's going to be more swampy. It's going to have tons of productivity, but aesthetically it might not be pleasing to everybody. So it's going to have algae on the surface, it's going to have green water, it's going to have an abundance of aquatic vegetation, the bottom's going to be filled with sediments and muck and stuff like that. So that's not exactly what our customers are looking for. So what we want to do is reverse engineer everything. So if we know we need to have a little bit of food in there, we want to figure out a way to control the amount of food. And that's where the skimmer comes into play. So food, look above me, leaf debris, lawn clippings, any type of organic compounds that fall in the water, that's called allochthonous material. So anything that blows in from the outside of the ecosystem is known as allochthonous material. So as that material comes into the system, it's going to decay, it's going to fall down to the bottom, and it's going to release all those nutrients that have been stored inside of the leaves. That's going to feed algal blooms, plankton, and all that stuff. So an easy way to control that stuff is simply by adding in a skimmer. So by having a skimmer inside of the aquatic system, any of that leaf debris, it's going to get removed from the system, and by doing that we're going to control the nutrients. So this is a really easy way for us to manage the aquatic ecosystem. All right, so here, typical example of a pond. Now this is obviously a stormwater pond, stagnant body of water. There's no circulation. See all that stuff floating on the surface? That is a combination of autochthonous material and allochthonous. Autochthonous material comes from inside of the pond. That's going to be your duckweed and your sediments. Allochthonous material is any leaf debris and stuff that blows in from the perimeter. The other thing kind of throwing this pond off is you can see there are geese around the perimeter. They're grazing on the grass, so they're taking the carbohydrates from the process of photosynthesis. So they create a lot of poop, and that actually goes inside of the water, and that actually feeds more nutrients. The nutrients are going to feed algae blooms, aquatic vegetation growth, planktonic algae, you name it. And over time, if that stuff is left unchecked, the system will slowly start to decline. On a bigger scale like this, it's going to take years for this pond to crash. But on a smaller pond, you're going to see it a lot quicker because the nutrients and everything are going to be more concentrated per volume. So here is a prime example of a managed pond. This is actually at our office, bigger than that little retention pond we saw. This is actually stormwater as well. But look at the difference in water quality, water clarity. You can see all the way down to the bottom. This is a managed pond. You can see there's no floating debris on the surface. Now this has a modified skimmer system, but still a skimmer. So all the water is flowing into one direction. It's not stagnant. So all of this water is flowing over that weir over here, which creates a waterfall. So that acts as a skimmer. All that debris goes into one area, it gets deposited somewhere. Minimal amount of nutrients that are going to be added to the system. So this is the basis of the ecosystem pond. All right, so let's take a walk inside the showroom so you could see some of this stuff firsthand, why we created the skimmer, that history, as well as the newest generation. So this is our history wall. This shows the entire history of Aquascape. And when I started back in 1993, we were just developing this stuff, and it was a lot of fun. It was an exciting time because we really didn't know what we were doing. We were kind of coming up with different ideas. We were constantly testing stuff, which is really what gave us our value. We're contractors. We wanted to find a solution to this problem that was on every single water feature that we were building. These original designs were actually made out of old trash cans. The problem with the trash can, though, is the walls of it are not designed to be buried. They started getting crushed. It was a watertight vessel. We were able to modify the front to attach to a liner, but it couldn't handle the stresses. So what we started doing was making plywood frames to actually set the garbage can inside of. It worked, but we still had some challenges. We wanted to add on other finer filtration. We wanted to put in filter pads. We needed to hook up an overflow system to handle excess waters. We ended up constantly making modifications for many, many years until we got to the current skimmer that we have today. So we've come a long way since that original garbage can skimmer. This is our current generation. We have different sizes. The different sizes really simple. That's because there are different size ponds out there. But both of them have the same features. So we have a fake rock cover because we want it to blend in with the surrounding environment. We don't want to see any of the mechanical stuff. A few of the major things that I want to point out. This is made from rotationally molded plastic. They basically take a mold. That's actually a base for one of the molds that they actually make everything off of. That's the original prototypes. Once you have that mold made, it makes a cavity. They take the raw material, they put it inside, they heat it up, and it rotates around in all different directions. And when it heats up that material, the plastic coats the inside of the molding. Now, the nice thing about that is the area where the thickest amount of plastic is going to be with rotational molding is going to be the corners. The reason we chose this company is the same company we've worked with for 25 plus years right here in the United States was because of that thick wall. It can handle the extreme temperatures. Here we're located Zone 5 Chicago. We have incredible freezing and thawing. That's what destroyed those original garbage can skimmers. We tried fiberglass. It would crush them. This type of stuff could expand and contract. So if you're looking at buying a skimmer, make sure you understand exactly what you're getting into. Another thing that we have is really simple. We have an easy removable basket. Again, that's just for holding debris. You want to make sure that you capture as much debris inside as possible. This was a fun little thing that we kind of came up with. And again, this was because we're builders. We screwed up a lot of projects. What I mean by screwed up, with a skimmer system, the water level should be about 3/4 of an inch below this opening. So that can be actually kind of tricky to do. So we use laser levels and everything. We want to match up to patios. If we have multiple skimmers, we want to join those two together and make sure they're perfect. By having an adjustable faceplate, we could actually adjust the water level to make it perfect. And the reason why that's important, see this little floating door here, it's got a piece of styrofoam inside of it. It actually sets the water level. So, and what it does is it creates a really nice film of water coming in off of the surface. Next thing that we have inside of here, there's a little bit of a filter pad. This is going to pick up some of the finer debris that actually gets through the actual skimmer basket. But then inside of here, there's a little grate down in there that's going to keep the filter pad off of the bottom. There's a chamber on the bottom that's going to house your pump. So right over here we have a submersible pump, so that's going to get mounted down in the bottom. We have a quick connection right here, no tools, all hand tight. So this is a threaded unit that goes directly under the pumping system. Then we also have an overflow. We didn't always have overflows on ponds. It was a huge problem because inevitably you're going to get huge rain events. If you get too much water and it doesn't disappear, the water level is going to be really high and the skimmer doesn't function properly. You're going to have floating leaf debris all over the surface. You have to allow that debris to come into the door opening. By having that overflow, any excess water is going to go down through that opening and it's going to go into a pipe and it's going to disappear. That's going to set the water level perfectly. So now that you understand what one of these things actually looks like, let's go and check one out in our showroom so you can see exactly how it functions in an actual project. So we're back in the showroom, and every once in a while these are live plants, leaves will fall in. So this is what happens in nature. Debris is going to fall in, and you can see actually how fast that's sweeping in. Goes right into the basket. So now once we have debris inside, I have a couple options. I could simply close this door and you can see what happens. It sucks all the water out of there really quickly. Now I could actually access the debris, or I could actually pull just the little basket out. I could inspect everything. I could see what's actually happening inside here. When this is open, boom, lets all the water back in, refills the system, everything is good. Now the other thing it does though, you see how this is drawing water in off of the surface of the pond. The surface of the pond is in direct contact with the atmosphere. The atmosphere actually has oxygen as a gas in the atmosphere. Because the proximity of the atmosphere with the water surface, you're gonna get kind of a mixture. Oxygen is gonna dissolve into the water. Therefore, the highest dissolved oxygen is at the top of the water. The bottom of the pond is gonna have lower dissolved oxygen. The reason I'm saying that is, I've seen a lot of people where they're gonna take a pump, they'll put it down in the very bottom of the pond. They draw water in that's relatively dirty, which is not a bad thing, but it's lower dissolved oxygen. That material goes to the biofilter and it plugs it up. I want to pre-filter all of the water that's going to my biofiltration system. That's going to increase the longevity of the biofilter and allow it to function more efficiently. The other thing is, because we're bringing in high dissolved oxygen water, you could actually see kind of the rippling on the surface. You could see actually bubbles on the back side. That's actually increasing the dissolved oxygen in the water, and that's critical for a healthy ecosystem. We're sending that oxygen-rich water to the biofilter that is loaded with microorganisms. I'll talk about that later in an upcoming vlog. Those organisms, just like us, need to breathe. When they're feeding on organic compounds, they need lots of oxygen to break it down thoroughly. So we want to send them nutrient-rich water, high dissolved oxygen without a lot of sediments or organic material inside of it. That's what this does for us, and this is why the skimmer is the most important part of an ecosystem pond. So I hope you enjoyed the video on the history of the skimmer system. So definitely do your homework, find the right system that's going to work for you, because it's going to lower your maintenance and it's going to give you the desired results that you're looking for. The idea of a water feature is to enjoy it. We want you to have the best experience possible with your water feature. All starts with the skimmer. Stay tuned for upcoming videos that are going to be built on the ecosystem pond. If you've done a pond, please send me your pictures. Whatever you have on your water features, because I love looking at that stuff. See you on the next project.